Consumer and business confidence is dropping. Let's have a look. Good morning, everyone. I'm Florian Heiser, and welcome to another episode for Heiser Says. This morning, I thought we'd talk about an article from the ABC that I made mention in a recent video about consumer and business confidence dropping. And before you ask, don't worry, I've got my stein of coffee as always. It keeps me going. It's my energy. That's one tip for some young people that were getting concerned yesterday about the prospects of a recession in our economy. You can save $5 a day by bringing your own coffee to work, and not in a stupid keep cup, in a manly ass stein. Guaranteed. It'll put hair on your chest, but it may take it from your head. So let's look at this article. Let's start the day with something, peppy and cheery. Consumers most pessimistic in 2 years despite tax and interest rate cuts. Well, yes, because, a lot of it's psychology. It's psychology. If you hear our Reserve Bank governor cutting, 1 month after the next so fast too, what message does that send you? If you're talking to your friends and someone's lost the job, or you've got a business acquaintance and they're having to scale back their business, what are you hearing? What's the vibe out there? I guess it's a bit different for me, as being in the design field and the architectural field. Right at the front of construction, we're like the canary in the coal mine. We're the first ones to feel it when it's starting to slow down, or when it's starting to pick up. We're, architects are, I'd say, a good barometer. But the problem is a lot of them just keep dropping their fees and working for hardly anything. But that's a completely different topic that I will whinge about in another episode. So, it is said, money can't buy you happiness, nor it seems can it buy confidence. Well, Stefan, very good. Despite the Reserve Bank delivering successive months of lower borrowing costs and the Federal Parliament clearing the way for immediate tax relief, Australian consumers became resultantly pessimistic in July. Well, I would say because of. I think it's a feedback loop. That's the problem. We're not rational robots. We're emotional beings, and that affects us. Just have a look at the whole American political system, how charged and hyperbolic it is, and how divisive it is. And sadly, it's starting to happen here in Australia too. Just with the SJW left and identity, politic rubbish. People think they make a difference when they fill in a survey. Anyway. So, the long-running Westpac Melbourne Institute Consumer Survey found sentiment fell 4.1%. plunging into pessimism. So we're pessimistic now. While the overall June reading of 107 was marginally optimistic. So I think it's over 100. Consumer questioned immediately after the first interest rate cut were far glummer than the economy. Well, yes. The July survey, based on 1,200 interviews, further entrenches the view that rate cuts are equated with a deteriorating economy rather than sudden good fortune. Well, yes. Is there anyone who doesn't think that? Is there anyone who does not think that rate cuts aren't a sign? Well, I'd say back-to-back rate cuts. Why didn't he wait another month? Why didn't I? Well, obviously he's really worried because the board's running out of the capacity to make any changes. Maybe. Here's some theory crafting. That was a message to our political establishment to try and kick them into some action. Do you think? You think it's going to work, or will it backfire? So it was conducted in the first week of the month, taking in the RBA's second 25 basis point rate cut, as well as news the federal government tax cuts have passed unscathed. So, the fall in sentiment this month is troubling as it comes against what should have been a supportive backdrop for confidence. Yeah, well, no, not really. That's the problem. Okay, you can give people more money in their pocket, but if they're worried that they're going to lose their job, if they're worried that their business is if work is drying, if work is getting patchy, often I'll ring up people and, you're just chatting to other engineers or builders trying to spook up work and how's it going? They say, oh, it's good. We could do with a bit more. And that's code for, they're getting quiet. Whereas either it's, flat out, can't keep up. And that slowly changes. Or you go from having big projects like I was talking to an engineer, and they had lots of, one or two, three big jobs that kept the whole team going. Then all the little projects were just filler that kind of, have helped the machine run, but you had the profit there in the big one. The problem was when the big ones start disappearing and you just have all the little ones, then the profit disappears and you just have to work just as hard to make a lot less money. So, it's just all, it's the sentiment. What am I doing? I'm clicking on my my thing at OneNote and moving it all around again. Sorry guys, I'm a bit tired. I was up late last night. So the good news is, the other good news is that failed to impress consumers included more signs that Sydney and Melbourne housing markets are stabilizing and a truce in the US-China trade war. Well, okay, I mean, let's see where that goes with the Sydney and Melbourne housing markets. I think there's still, maybe people are selling. Well, no, actually, I'll follow this up with another video where more people are selling at a loss than ever before. Maybe people are pulling out of the market. And I've got another article I want to look at from CoreLogic, a report, and the time that properties are on the market to sell is longer than it has been for some time. So, while someone left a comment that this morning GMA, Good Morning Australia, they were saying housing is becoming more affordable, but it doesn't really work with consumer confidence. Will it offset that? So despite these positives, Australian consumer confidence has fallen to a 2-year low. The main driver continues to be deepening concerns about the outlook for the Australian economy and prospects for family finances. So I'll put it to you, where are people getting their news? People who are concerned about this type of thing. I would say a lot of them are getting it now from the alt media. They're looking at, John Adams or Martin North. They're listening to their talks on DFA and all other people in Nuggets News. They're going to online social media. They're finding the research themselves now. You can get it from the ABS. You can get it right from the horse's mouth. A lot of people are trading themselves, so they're switched on and they're talking around barbecues with friends that are involved. That are following the news all around the world. So it's not the same as it was in the past. I'm hoping people get more of a kind of a feel for what's going on, and more people are probably preparing. But some people probably aren't, which will be concerning too. But so that's why I'm thinking, maybe this positive news may not have as much of a effect as people realize or hope it did or would have in the past. Because remember, it's been 27 years since we've had a recession. That's a very long cycle. That is a really long cycle. And what happens when you're growing for too long? What happens? How have we seen? Well, we're starting to see just in the construction industry in Sydney. We're starting to see, it's like almost every day I'm making a new video about another building that has issues. We're in a sector that was overheating. What's the outcome of it now? You tell me. So, the slump in confidence mirrors some wobbly sentiment in business, which enjoyed a brief but now extinguished burst of post-election optimism. Well, yeah, we can see it here. So, yellow or orange is consumer sentiment, 100 is neutral, and we're below here. Business confidence, the right-hand scale, 0 is neutral. The higher the number, the higher the optimism. So it's heading back down. It was at 0 there, the prospect of a Labor government. Shot up, and now it's gone down. Honestly, a lot of business people I spoke to were relieved. And happy. I mean, not that the Liberals are going to have much to work with, but we'll see how it goes. So, job prospects dim. Housing prospects brighter. Wow, it's still all the housing, Mr. Hassan said the muted response to both the interest rate cuts and tax relief may stem from the fact that both developments were widely anticipated. Notably, the subgroup detailed showed no boost to sentiment among groups that stand to benefit most from policy easing. Sentiments amongst mortgage holders declined 3.3% in the month, and sentiments amongst middle-income earners was down 5.5%, he said. Sentiment among those with a trade qualification was also down almost 8%, suggesting the residential construction downturn may be starting to weigh more heavily on some households. Well, yes. Yeah, okay, I can tell you that. Now, a few years ago, Rachel and I saw a graph just showing the different sectors of the economy, how they were performing, and you could see that the construction industry in Queensland had gone into recession for a few quarters, for a few periods over the last few years, if it weren't for the mining sector. If that wasn't in there. And we're trying to find that again. I need to do some more research. If anyone has that, knows what I'm talking about, please send it to me. But because some sections of our economy may be in recession and may have been for a long time. I mean, what about all the abandoned hotels up in northern Queensland or the islands? So the sub-index tracking expectations for the economy over the next 12 months has fallen more than 16% since the release of disappointing first GDP data. The Australian economic growth tumbled under 2% in the first 3 months of the year, the worst result in a decade since the GFC. Well, there you go. The sub-index tracking consumers' expectations for their own finances in the next 12 months also recorded a sharp 8% fall, while the increased anxieties about the economy is undermining confidence about job security. Well, yes, and 18,000 jobs globally from Deutsche Bank. What's the flow on from that? What's the confidence that signals? Because people are worried about their jobs. Their mortgage stress is a big issue. And really just having that stress over you every day can be one of the worst things in your life. A big debt stress. That moment you relax or you drift off to sleep, it appears back in your mind, just gnawing away at you. Being freed of the burden of stress is incredibly valuable in some regards. It's worth more than a house, worth more than these other luxury items. But really that only comes, I think, with age and experience, sadly. You learn those things, you learn what's really important. So consumers in New South Wales, Victoria and Western Australia were particularly glum about the likelihood of unemployment rising. I was just reading about the last big recession we had in the 90s, in the late 91, 92. And Victoria really copped it. And I grew up in Victoria back then. I remember that was just when I moved to Queensland with my parents. We left Victoria because my father was a builder in the construction game, and we moved up to Queensland. And I remember that. I remember being, as a child, just hearing my parents' concern and worry, being scared that we were going to lose it all. I think it just started tracking back up again. And like my mother, she started a business as well because she's a stay-at-home mother, and she started working, doing mobile hair care too when it started getting a bit dicey. So, however, questions relating to housing was one area showing a marked improvement in sentiment. Expectations about house prices are now at their highest level in more than a year and getting back towards their long-term average. Really? Why? Who are they surveying? Why? Really? People are expecting them to go up, or they're hoping? Maybe that's hope. Hope isn't a plan, isn't it? So consumers are more bullish about buying houses following sharp corrections in most major property markets. Consumers are more bullish about buying houses following sharp corrections in most major property markets. Okay. Does that fill you with confidence? Sharp corrections in major property markets, slow overall economic growth, lack of job security, and increased people selling at a loss? Does that fill you with confidence to run and invest in property? Doesn't fill me with confidence. Anyway, so let's look at the sentiment by category. Consumer sentiment, the average in July is 96.5. So change over a year, down 9%. Family finance versus 1 year ago, look at the average, 85.7. It's down. Economic conditions, down. Change in a month, 12%. Whoa. Is that right? That can't be right. Time to buy a dwelling. That's up. House price expectations are up. Wow. I find that surprising. So guys, I think I'll capture that for use later, or I've got the consumer data here that I can refer to in other videos, just where it's trending. So it's pessimistic. I'm not surprised. Let me know if you're surprised at this, that the election was just a positive, bump. And that's natural. I mean, the only problem is, Trump could pull that off for a long time. It doesn't look like ScoMo has managed to do the same. Anyway, guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Ding the bell to see my daily updates, and I'll talk to you all again later. Bye for now.